During Toyota's national sales event, qualified buyers can get 3.99% APR financing for 72 months on a rugged new 2024 Tundra. Toyota, let's go places. Dealer inventory may vary. See your participating Toyota dealer for details. Offer ends September 3rd and is available in select states only.
Stay in the game with Q-Collar, the world's first and only equipment proven to help protect the brain. It's backed by advanced research, built for the modern athlete, and designed to protect your most important asset, your brain. Q-Collar is a proud partner of the Baylor Bears. When it's on, it's on. Learn more and collar up at Q30.com. That's Q30.com.
Already.
How much time?
Kids can now join the Baylor Cup
Last spotting in the open.
Associates, the official kids club of Baylor Athletics.
coffee.
Fans 12 and under
Okay.
register for the low.
So he's on this with you there.
Gain exclusive benefits.
Hey, Bryce is
Yeah, he's here. Yep.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
but no segment 4, no
Exclusive
Yeah, I took it out.
their own membership package. To register your Cub, please visit BaylorBears.com/Cub Club. Sign your Cub up today and sick 'em Bears.
This is the Baylor Football Postgame Fan Forum. Brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance.
There he is.
Chip partner of Baylor Athletics. Visit Texas Farm Bureau Insurance online to find a local agent today.
Levels are good too.
God and White Health, the official hospital and healthcare system of Baylor Athletics. Your healthcare, your way. HEB, the official grocer of Baylor Athletics. Proudly serving Texans since 1905. TFNB, your bank for life. The official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Premier ER and Urgent Care. Feel better now. Nissan. Innovation that excites. Get ready for all the post-game action. Starting right now.
Tough one today for the Bears. They spot BYU 21 points, a deficit that proves to be insurmountable despite a late flurry of offense and defensive stops that made the game interesting. Ultimately, it is 22nd ranked BYU remaining undefeated today with a 34-28 victory over the Bears. Thanks for being with us after a tough ball game alongside Baylor legend Bryce Hager. I'm Derek Smith here at McLean Stadium. We welcome you into the post-game fan forum. If you want to join in the conversation on Twitter, you can use the hashtag BUFanForum. We're also video streaming online at Baylor Athletics YouTube. You can go to YouTube and just search Baylor Athletics, or go to youtube.com/Baylor Athletics, or comment on the comment thread to leave your thoughts. Already a few there already. Obviously, people are frustrated after another tough loss. And Bryce, this was a game that Baylor was playing without several key defensive starters, and really it showed early on. Baylor's down 21-0 very quickly. By the time the defense gets its legs under them, they'd already spotted BYU 4 straight touchdown drives to start the game, and the offense about had to play perfectly, and they played good, but they didn't play perfectly. We were looking at the numbers beforehand. It's these slow starts right now that are probably the difference between this team potentially being 4-1 or at least 3-2 right now, or instead 2-3, which is where they are.
I mean, yeah, you put yourself behind the 8 ball when you give a team 21 points in the first quarter, and that's kind of what we were playing. I mean, the last couple of games, it's been a common factor. We're coming out slow. Takes us a while to find our rhythm. And like you mentioned, a couple key guys out, but that's no excuse. You got to have the next man up mentality. And so I think it's something, I mean, we said it the last 2 weeks, it's a lot to learn from this game. But, I mean, there was a lot of good stuff I saw today. I mean, Sawyer did a great job. I mean, first play, first possession he gets, throws a pick, deflected pick, and then there wasn't any really falter in his attitude and his demeanor. I think he did a great job leading his team pretty much through the whole game. He was getting the ball out. He was making good reads. But at the end of the day, I mean, you got to come together. Defense got to play. Offense got to play. Special teams got to play.
Robertson, 324 yards through the air today, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He also added 29 yards and a touchdown on the ground. Bryce, we think about the 4 games against FBS opponents that Baylor has played this year. We're not going to count the Tarleton game. Baylor scored 21 first quarter points in that one, which you kind of expect them to do in a game like that. Since then, in the 4 games against FBS teams, they've been outscored 48-10 in the first quarter. And you look in the second quarters, a lot of those have gone the other way as well, unfortunately. You're essentially spotting the other team at the end of the first quarter, a 2-possession lead. And that's tough for a young offense to come back from. Now, the offense has played a role in it too, right? There was that turnover against Utah that gave them the ball deep in their own territory. Granted, it wasn't really Robertson's fault, but there was that tip at the line and a pick today. But nonetheless, you're asking a team that's figuring out who it is. It's like a golf handicap, right, almost, and you're trying to come back from a 9-point deficit almost out of the gate, and this team is not yet ready to do that. And that's not a knock against them. They're just not ready to do that. Most teams aren't.
Yeah, I mean, you give teams that kind of that spread already. I mean, it's going to be hard to come back from that. There has been good rally. There's been good fight in the team trying to crawl their way back. They're making plays, but I mean, obviously it's showing it's not enough plays. There's too many big plays left out. We're giving up too much plays. We got to get the running game going. That's one thing. That's something that we struggled with today. I mean, when you get one-dimensional, it's a little bit easier for that defensive coordinator on the other side to soften up the coverage a little bit, get those guys to play a little bit more soft in the run game, just because, I mean, there's no threat there. And so, I mean, if we can come out, we got to come out. I mean, with these games especially, I mean, got to come out fighting. I mean, there's just a lot of I don't know if it's not lackadaisical. There's not really that much excitement. What I've felt. I mean, there's a different presence, and I knew you probably feel it too, coming out in the second half. There's a little bit more urgency, a little bit more want to, and so if they can figure out a way to just come out like that, I feel like we'd be talking here with a win instead of a loss.
Baylor falls behind 21-0 and loses today by a score of 34-28, and I think that number bears out what you just said, right? I mean, they battled. This team doesn't have a problem continuing to fight. They don't seem to have a problem throwing in the towel. The problem is getting started, and I don't know we have to continue to beat everyone over the head with that, but that's what's been the problem so far. Last week, granted, we couldn't close, but I think in those final moments of the game against Colorado, but you look back against a better team than Air Force, that first half start might have doomed us, kind of like it did today against BYU. Even against BYU, that was we were down 7-3 at the end of the first quarter there. We just didn't get a lot going early on. Yeah, you've seen teams, Bryce. What do you do when you have a slow start? What are some ways that are there tricks up the sleeve, or is it just a matter of execution when you're like, okay, we got to figure out a way to spark something? Say next week up in Ames, you're like, we can't fall behind 14-0 in the first quarter. Are there things, players, or are there play calls, or are there things you can do during the week to try to make sure that's not the case next week?
I mean, yeah, you got to start. It starts in the locker room. Those guys know. They know where their issues are. I mean, starting fast is one, and just putting together a complete game. I feel like the rest of the season, how the games have been, they're probably going to continue. It's going to be a one-possession game. Colorado last week, this week now. And so in those, you don't know which opportunity is, if it's a missed field goal here, make field goal there, a first down or a touchdown or something that's going to change the game. But I think the next couple games are going to end with one possessions. And so these guys in the locker room, you got to take control of the steering wheel, and it's your team, it's your destiny. And so those guys, those leaders on the team, I mean, Sawyer's one of those guys now guys are looking up to, the way he's going to be vocal, the way he runs the locker. Matt Jones on the defensive side of the ball. Those guys got to communicate. And then, I mean, there's got to be two-way conversations with the coaches too. What do the coaches see? What are the players seeing? Kind of get perspective on both sides. And so that's an internal thing they got to figure out. And is it possible? Yeah, absolutely. There's ways you can do that. And it comes out for the players. The players got to want it. They got to execute when they can. And so, I mean, I'm still hopeful. I've seen great flashes here and there. It just got to put together a complete game, and we haven't done that yet.
You mentioned the running game today, Bryce. The numbers aren't good. 28 carries, 63 yards. 2.3 yards on the ground. And Sawyer Robertson honestly did the majority of the damage, 12 carries, 29 yards, and a touchdown. I think we're starting to see, this is just the 7th start of Sawyer's career. He's got that ability to keep you in a game. I'm not saying you don't look at this and just say, hey, anytime you got Sawyer Robertson out there, you're never out of it. I don't think we're to that point just yet, like we were with some of your teammates, Bryce Petty, Seth Russell. Not that they played from behind a whole lot, but when they did, they had a tendency to come back. We're not there, but I think you kind of look at him and you're starting to see, wait a minute, this guy's not only got some talent, but he's tough. He's versatile. He can run, and it seems like he's got that ability. And it speaks well of the other guy's character as well out there. Kind of got that ability to keep guys rallied, right? Keep them coming back even when things are tough.
Yeah, I mean, I could feel it today. I mean, even though you don't want to start your first possession, the first drive of the game with a tipped interception and down 14 points within, 2 minutes of the first score. And you can kind of saw his demeanor on the sideline, the way he was talking to the guys on the sideline, getting back on the out there. I didn't really feel like his confidence wavered at all, and that's a huge thing that I feel like you can easily build off of. If you're a guy, running the offense, and if he's confident and he can talk to those receivers, talk to the linemen, keep them in it, and if they feel like he believes that does a lot. If you can feel like those guys who take care of the ball, who are still in it, even though you're down 21-0 within 6 minutes of the first quarter, that was really encouraging. And I didn't feel like we were out of it yet, just from the demeanor and the way Sawyer was carrying himself and those guys, how they responded to him. He did a great job dispersing the ball to multiple receivers today. Like we talk about, the running game's gotta get better. You gotta be able to run the ball. I think our offense will be a lot more dangerous if you get us two-dimensional. We can start doing stuff that complements off the running game. And right now we just don't have that. And so, but like I said, I think Sawyer did a great job, and I could feel his confidence from where I was sitting.
Baylor falls today by a score of 34-28. In a little bit, we're going to hear our Game Day Rewind segment. Note that Baylor was down 14-0. Bryce caught this after having run just one offensive play. That was that tip pass that spotted in the 14-0 lead. It really was a game of two halves. Baylor allowed touchdowns the first 4 drives in this ball game, and then did not allow a touchdown in the second half. Meanwhile, Baylor was stifled on their first 2 drives, then essentially scored every other drive the rest of the game until those last 2 when they had the turnover on downs and the interception with the chance to win. If you want to join in the conversation, you can comment on Baylor Athletics Facebook right now, or the Baylor Athletics YouTube channel. And, right, see our friend LTCM has a few comments. Feeling what a lot of Baylor fans are feeling frustrated with the loss. He said there was a bit of a moral victory, which is true, but also frustrated with kind of losing games in different ways. And I think we've seen a little bit. Last week it was not being able to close late. This week it was spotting them the points. I think that's something they're going to be working at it. They got to work at it to find a way to settle that down. Bryce, he also said you're a legend and wishes you were back on the team. I don't know. We'd throw you out there for a couple plays, here and there, right? Maybe a big third down. Do you have that in you?
I like to think so, but I'm not sure.
Okay, well, we'll go with that. Since we won't probably get a chance to prove it, we'll go with that. All right, our Game Day Rewind segment is coming up next. We'll hear the big calls in this game from the voice of the Bears, John Morris, and look at how this game developed. That is coming up when we return. We are brought to you by Rudy's, proud sponsor of Baylor football. Be sure to stop by your local Rudy's or Rudy's.com for some real Texas barbecue. Enjoy 100% oak smoked meats, delicious sides, and Rudy's signature sauce. Don't forget, Rudy serves breakfast tacos every day until 10 a.m. Game Day Rewind is next after this. Tough one today for the Bears as they fall to 22nd ranked BYU. Now are 0-2 in Big 12 play. We'll be back after this on the Baylor Sports Media Network.
First Central Credit Union is cheering for the Bears.
Highlights right here, or
% APY free reward checking. Enjoy ATM free refunds and the winning side with direct deposits 2 days early. Huddle up with First Central to make deposits 24/7 at our ATMs and suit up in a free new member t-shirt. Visit online at firstcentralcu.com. Everything we do for you.
Eligibility and application requirements apply. APY equals annual percentage yield. Member NCUA.
Premier ER and Urgent Care has all the convenience of urgent care with all the expertise of an ER, all under one roof. At every visit, be seen by ER-trained staff with on-site lab and CT, X-ray, ultrasound, and EKG. Here, you pay for the appropriate level of care that you receive, and we are in-network with most major insurance providers. Premier ER and Urgent Care has 4 convenient locations serving Texas: San Marcos, Temple, Waco, and Woodway. To learn more, visit www.premier.care.
It's Ram Power Days at Allen Samuels in Waco. Get the 2025 Ram 1500 Laramie Crew Cab with an incredible $15,000 off MSRP. Or drive away in a 2024 Ram 2500 Tradesman Crew Cab with $10,000 off MSRP. A great selection with over 350 new to choose from. But hurry, these deals won't last long. Hurry into Allen Samuels in Waco today. First responders get an extra $500 off.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Are you a proud Baylor fan? Do you love prizes? The Baylor Sports app allows fans to track their attendance across athletic events and earn points using Baylor Bold Rewards. Baylor Athletics wants to reward the most loyal fans for cheering on the Bears, so register online today at BaylorBoldRewards.com or download the Baylor Sports app straight to your phone. Prizes this year are better than ever, so start earning your points today.
We're breaking down today's game on the Fan Forum. To join in the conversation, tweet your thoughts with hashtag #BUFanForum or leave your comments on the YouTube or Facebook live streams. Now, back to Derek and Elliot.
Back here with Bryce Hager on the Postgame Fan Forum. Tough one tonight for the Bears as they fall by a score of 34-28. To 22nd ranked BYU. A little later on in the program, we're going to look at the top players, top plays, and the moments we want to see improve. We're going to look around the Big 12, but now it's time to look back at some of the big plays in this ball game with the voice of the Bears, John Morris. It was a day that began with a new-look defense, and that was because a lot of guys turned out to be unavailable. We didn't know if Garmin Randolph was going to play. Became clear early on that he was not going to be out there after dealing with that ankle sprain last week. And then early on, Lorando Johnson was injured. First play of the game, he had to exit. But it turned out a few other guys weren't out there. Caden Jenkins at Chateau Reed, cornerbacks, nickelback Kendrick Simpkins, linebackers Steve Linton and Jock Evans. And so there were a lot of guys who were not out there, and so it forced guys to step up. We saw more of Tevin Williams, more of Reggie Bush II, and others. And frankly, they struggled early on the defensive end. We talked about the slow start. Well, Baylor allowed touchdowns on the first 4 drives of the ball game. First offensive play of the game was a tipped pass for an interception that led to another BYU touchdown, and then a 7-play, 44-yard drive by the Bears was snuffed out with a turnover on downs. And by the time Baylor scored their first touchdown, they were down 21-0. But they were able to score their first touchdown after Baylor received the kickoff late in the first quarter. They embarked on an 8-play, 80-yard drive that resulted in this Sawyer Robertson touchdown.
Need a half a yard for the first down, 4th down play. Washington in motion. Sawyer Robertson will keep. He's got it, and the touchdown. Similar to last week on 4th and 2. This time, Sawyer Robertson keeps it on 4th down, a half a yard, runs it in, 19 yards for the Baylor touchdown. First points of the day for the Bears.
That's Bryce, as John said, that was like last week against Colorado. It was a shorter field of play this time, but once again, it seems like he just needs a little bit of hole, and he's got enough of a burst that if he can get that past that first defender or two, it's going to be interesting each time.
Yeah, that's what I love about his play. I mean, he does a great job reading defenses, going through his progressions, but if he needs to run the ball and his number's called, he does a great job of tucking and running and making guys miss and finding the end zone.
Well, that made it 21-7. However, BYU would answer quickly, a 10-play, 85-yard drive, long touchdown pass to Lassiter, and to Darius Lassiter for BYU. That made it 28-7. But the Bears would answer once again. 7 plays, 57 yards, and a guy who had a big game today has continued to become a bigger and bigger part of the offense. That is Josh Cameron. He took the pass from Sawyer Robertson to finish the drive.
Here's snap back to Sawyer Robertson. Throws for Josh Cameron. He's got it. Touchdown. Robertson to Josh Cameron, and the Bears are back in the gold end zone.
That was just a 1-yard pass, and pretty simple there, Josh. He just put a nice little move on the defensive back, was able to turn around and catch the pass that was put on him right there by Sawyer Robertson. Well, you like having, when you know teams are going to try to, kind of tighten up defensively there by the goal line, you like having a guy who's just able to do, it's the most basic thing in football, but it's hard to do, right? Just beat your man.
I mean, yeah, he's showing up these last couple of games. I really like how he's being consistent. When his number's called, he's making plays. He's showing up when he needs to. Yeah, Josh Cameron's a guy I've been watching. He's been impressive to me.
He finished the day with 7 catches for 125 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's one of those guys, he's a walk-on, Bryce. He's not the most talented guy on the roster. He just kind of finds a way to make a play. I think you like having guys on your team like that. I don't know whether at Baylor or whether in the league with the Rams or others. Maybe a guy who's just unheralded but found a way to contribute something each game, kind of get the most out of what they have.
Yeah, no, I think he's just building on game after game. I mean, when his number's called and he needs to step up, and he seems to be the guy who's, when his number's called, he capitalizes on it. And so those guys will be rewarded down the road, and I think if he just keeps doing what he's doing, he's going to like where he ends up.
That made it 28-14. BYU was able to put points on the board before halftime, though. A 51-yard field goal made it 31-14, and then the Bears were unable to answer on the final play as Connor Hawkins, who was the kicker today, I guess just a change there. Didn't hear any news about Isaiah Hankins throughout the week, but Connor Hawkins was the place kicker today. He missed a 40-plus yard field goal to send it in the locker room at 31-14. This is really when the game flipped. Again, BYU scored touchdowns on their first 4 drives, points on 6 of their first 7 drives. The rest of the way, that save for a field goal to start the field goal in the third quarter, Baylor was able to keep them off the board, but unfortunately, as we know, not enough to close out the ball game. So it's 31-14 at halftime. Baylor gets the ball to start the second half, embarks on a 6-minute drive. Another good drive put together by the Bears. Sawyer Robertson making plays, and at this time it was Ashton Hawkins making the play in the end zone.
This drive coming up here. Snap back to Robertson. Looks left.
Oh,
gonna throw for the
it.
end zone, wide open. Catch is made. Touchdown, Baylor. Wow, Sawyer Robertson waited for Ashton Hawkins to come open and hit him for the touchdown. 15 yards out, and the Bears do punch it in on their first possession of the third quarter.
Yeah, you kind of got the feeling. You mentioned, Bryce, you saw Sawyer Robertson's body language, his motion on the sideline, and didn't feel like the game was just over. I think a lot of fans really, if they weren't buying in at that point, were starting to feel the comeback possibility once again there, and especially a few minutes later when, actually I don't want to say especially because there was some interesting stuff that took place in there. So Baylor pulls to within 10. The challenge is when you spot teams' points like Baylor has done, there's going to be there could be one play that has an outsized influence, and that came after Baylor scored that touchdown. That was in the third quarter. Baylor stops them on third down, but TCU ran that fake punt on fourth down. Long run by their punter Johnny Vanderhaar, who finished one carry for Vanderhaar for 22 yards. So a big pickup for them. That led to 3 points. That was a huge difference in the game. And it's tough because Baylor got the defensive stop, but they run that trick play. And when you're down by 21 points early, those things have an outsized impact.
Yeah, I'm surprised it didn't turn into something bigger. I mean, the fact that they still held them to 3 points, and that's kind of one of those shocker. You go get the team off the field, the punt team comes on, defense kind of sits back and kind of starts getting the corrections from their coaches, and you look up and they got a first down. And so that's kind of a thing where you got to lock back in, get refocused, get back on, turn your mind back on. And so I think still holding it with 3 points is better than a touchdown, but you're right. That changed the momentum, gave them 3 points. Without that, I mean, it would have been squared up with our missed field goal and that field goal made. So it was definitely a huge play in the game.
You're maybe talking about late in the game, instead of Baylor having to go for it on 4th down, maybe they go for a field goal. And I know that's been a little hit and miss this year, but it changes your strategy there at the end. So that made it at that point. That made it 34-21. So Baylor's down by 13 points. They're going to need 2 touchdowns, and boy, they kept on coming and had some chances still. After that field goal, Baylor did not score in the 3rd quarter, but they did in the 4th. 6 plays, 68 yards, 2:32 off the clock, and a fantastic reception and toe tap along the right side of the end zone by Josh Cameron to cap a career game.
Here's the play, 2nd and 4 from the 23. Robertson looks left, rolls right, passes for the end zone. It's caught, touchdown! That's a touchdown for the Bears. Josh Cameron hit 2nd touchdown receiving today.
That made it 34-28 after the extra point. Today I mentioned Cameron finished 7 catches, 125 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Hal Presley, 8 catches, 82 yards. That play, that touchdown seemed emblematic of this, Bryce. It seemed like there's a little bit of a trust factor that Sawyer Robertson has in Cameron and Hal Presley. Just kind of put the ball on them and let them make a play, and in a lot of cases they both did today.
I mean, yeah, both those guys are both his 2 top targets today, one with 14, the other with 12. I mean, Sawyer's definitely looking at those guys and trust those guys. And it's funny when you get your quarterback, kind of see what the guys that they lean on. And so it's cool that they're starting to build that chemistry and that relationship. And so that's just going to get better as time goes on. And so it's good for those guys.
Ashton Hawkins also had 5 catches for 74 yards and a touchdown today. So Baylor with 3 receivers with at least 5 catches and at 74 yards. So at that point, Baylor is within a score, and after being down 21-0, that's a pretty impressive place to be. And again, that came with 2:32. That came with 10:07 left in the 4th quarter. So Baylor is going to have a couple more chances. They were able to force a punt. However, they had to punt the ball back. And where it started getting interesting, that came about 4 minutes. That came with about 8 minutes left in the ball game. Baylor got the ball back at the punt, and they get it back with 4 minutes to go following the punt by BYU that pinned Baylor all the way back to their 3-yard line. They pick up a 4th down. They drive, but they are unable to score. They turn the ball over on downs. Then, with a minute and a half to go, with 2.5 minutes to go, I beg your pardon, BYU has the ball. Baylor has 3 timeouts left, and the defense makes a play. A tipped ball at the line of scrimmage leads to a big man INT.
Just in time. Snap back to Retzloff. Pass deflected. It's intercepted on the deflected ball. Baylor's got the interception and then fumbled, but Keaton Thomas fell on it.
That was Linus Knoll, the defensive lineman, catching the tipped pass. That's kind of a lineman's dream right there, to pluck the ball out of the air. Linus Knoll made a big play. Got a little excited. He tried to lateral it. The 337-pounders aren't used to running with the football in their hands. He tried to lateral it. Luckily, Keaton Thomas was there to fall on it. Didn't result in a win, but boy, that was a big-time play by the Baylor defense.
Yeah, that was great awareness by him, and it's funny, like, those guys get the balls in their hand. They're trying to make something happen and just get excited in the moment. Good thing nothing bad happened after that, but trying to be aware, trying to make a bigger play in that moment. So awesome job, awesome awareness, and you love it when the big guys get interceptions.
Well, unfortunately, Baylor turned the ball over on downs. However, they were able to get the ball back one more time. They stopped BYU with 3 timeouts left. BYU actually really left the door open. Penalties played a big role in the final couple minutes of the game, Bryce. One was BYU got an unsportsmanlike conduct, and that was able to save Baylor a timeout. that's a case where I know as a defender, that's a cardinal sin in that, or not as a defender, excuse me, but as a player on the field right now, that's a cardinal sin to do something that stops the clock when you're trying to run the clock.
Yeah, that's what you try to avoid. You try to avoid those penalties that you're shooting yourself in the foot. I mean, that was great that happened, but it turns out, I mean, we had 2 opportunities towards the end of the game to capitalize on that mistake, and unfortunately we weren't able to do it. But yeah, that's got to capitalize on those opportunities.
Well, Baylor did have one more chance. However, a Sawyer Robertson interception sealed the deal, and the Bears fall 34-28. The way the game played out, Bryce, again, I'll just say, we talked about it earlier, and you don't want to, beat a dead horse here, but you spot them 21 points. You almost have to play perfect, and most teams aren't going to play perfect, and this Baylor team's not built, doesn't have the experience to play perfect yet. They played awfully good, but in the end, just too much to overcome.
I know. I think what's frustrating for a lot of people right now is just they see what we have, they see the potential, they see the flashes of good plays, some of them great plays, and they're just not happening at the right time. I mean, good stuff's happening in the second quarter, third quarter, we're already down 21 points. Or we get a awesome punt return or a kickoff return for a touchdown. I mean, we're doing good things. It's just not being consistent, and it's not capitalizing certain plays at certain moments, the bigger moments when they count. They're kind of just sporadic throughout the games. And so I think that's kind of where I see a lot of the frustration right now is we got to put together a full game from start to finish, from kickoff to the last minute or the last second ticks off the clock. And so I think if we can do that, I think this is a completely different season than what it looks like right now. And so I just think that's where the frustration's coming right now. There's a lot of good that I've seen. It just needs to be capitalized in the right moments.
And you hope that, you just want this team to win. B, you want them to find a way to close out a close game, because you feel like a lot of Big 12 games are going to be close this year. The problem is, you've seen it. You faced programs where their teams, Bryce, that when you played, you knew, I think we're down, but we're going to find a way to win, and I don't think they can close. You can build momentum one way or the other as a program, and I think for Baylor right now, so many close losses, you got to stop that momentum really as quick as you can.
I know. I just think right now it's just being able to capitalize moments. Like, we have the right players in the right positions, making plays when they have to make plays. It's just you got to do it when it matters. And right now, we're not getting the end result that we want, and that's at the end of the day, that's what matters is winning. And so we got to put together a complete game. And I know the players know it, the coaches know it, and so it's time to execute on it.
Well, Baylor couldn't do that today. They fall to BYU 34-28. The Bears now 0-2 in Big 12 play, 2-3 overall. We roll on the post-game fan forum. Reminder, the Baylor Coaches Show, presented by Central National Bank, is going to be back this Wednesday live at Rudy's. Voice of the Bears, John Morris, will visit with a lineup of coaches each Wednesday night. This week it's baseball coach Mitch Thompson and men's golf coach Mike McGraw. That'll be this Wednesday and every Wednesday, 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. That's a scoop on all Baylor athletic programs throughout the season. Sick and Bears coming out to Rudy's on Wednesday evening. We'll take a time out, and when we come back, we'll look around the Big 12, another busy day in the conference. We'll see where Baylor finds itself at the end of 2 conference weeks. That's all on the way after this on the Postgame Fan Forum, Baylor Sports Media Network.
When life gets complicated, Butts Law Firm is your one-stop for a wide range of legal needs. Whether you need estate planning documents such as a will, trust, or guardianship, or the appointment of a receiver to handle personal or business management and disposal, consumer protection, family-related legal matters, or various business-related issues, we are your community firm. Whether you're planning for the future, navigating a probate, or managing a business, our experienced team is ready to guide you every step of the way. Trust us to provide the legal support you need. Call today, 406-641-BUTZ. That's 406-641-2889. Or come by the Waxahachie office at 301 South Rogers Street, Suite 202, downtown Waxahachie. Come see the difference having a trusted attorney by your side can make, because at Butts Law Firm, your legal rights are our business.
Life moves fast. Your internet should move even faster. Connect, game, study, and do it all with Astound's hypersonic award-winning fiber-powered internet. It's a big deal. Call 1-800-4ASTOUND or go to astound.com to get internet for only $20 a month with a 2-year price lock. Plus, get a $100 Amazon gift card and add 5G unlimited mobile free for 12 months. Because reliable internet and better mobile is a big deal. Go to astound.com today. Restrictions apply. See astound.com for details.
At H-E-B, we know that game day is about more than the game itself. The taste of victory is unparalleled, but so is the taste of H-E-B jalapeno poppers hot off the grill. Seeing the best players in their prime is truly something to behold. So is an H-E-B Prime 1 burger that you grilled to perfection. For low prices on all the things that make game day great and delicious, visit H-E-B, your official game day headquarters, or use the My H-E-B app to start prepping for game day right away.
From the Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Studios, this is KRZI Waco, K222DC Waco, K265DV Temple, ESPN Central Texas.
You're listening to Baylor Football on the Baylor Sports Media Network.
Big 12 home opener today for the Bears, but it is BYU heading back to Provo with the win. The 22nd ranked Cougars knock off the Bears 34-28. Part of a busy day in the college football landscape and throughout the Big 12. Bryce, let's take a look at some scores right now. You know, this is weird. I see Wisconsin is leading 13th ranked USC 21-10 in LA. That's a Big 10 game now. That's a conference game, Wisconsin versus Southern Cal. You know, we know we're in the era of conference realignment. Certainly the Big 12's been a part of that. There's some matchups that are going to take some time to get used to as a conference matchup. I mean, to me, when I see Wisconsin USC, that feels like a bowl game in January, right? But no, that's for Big 10 standings right now.
Yeah, I mean, it is very weird seeing USC playing Wisconsin. I mean, like you said, it does feel like a bowl. It's bowl season already.
Yeah,
it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna take some time for that style to get adapted to those kind of teams.
Another game we'll keep an eye on, former conference mates Texas. The Texas and Oklahoma, the Longhorns leading early second quarter against Mississippi State down in Austin, 7-0. Arch Manning playing in that game. Quinn Ewers not back yet. And in Auburn, Alabama, Auburn with a 14-7 lead over 21st ranked Oklahoma. There was an upset today. Kentucky knocked off number 6 Ole Miss. The Rebels missing a late field goal, and Kentucky wins that one 20-17 in Oxford. 12th ranked Michigan has to hold on against Minnesota. The Golden Gophers score 21 fourth quarter points, but can't get those big three that would have tied it. And it's Michigan holding on for a 27-24 win. There was a top 25 matchup in the Big 12 today that has gone final. It was in Manhattan. 23rd ranked Kansas State, 20th ranked Oklahoma State. Both teams trying to bounce back from losses last week, OSU to Utah. Kansas State to the team Baylor played today, that being BYU. And it was all Wildcats in this one. They knock off Oklahoma State by a score of 42-20. So Oklahoma State now 0-2 in Big 12 play, despite being a top 25 team coming into the weekend. Kansas State is 1-1. Matchup of two undefeated teams in Orlando, undefeated in Big 12 play. That is, Colorado leads UCF 14-7. Halftime in Kansas City, a game they're playing at Arrowhead Stadium, while Kansas updates their stadium on campus Memorial Stadium there in Lawrence. TCU has the 21-17 halftime lead over the Jayhawks. Other games tonight. Iowa State, the number 18 team in the nation, Baylor's upcoming opponent, plays Houston in Houston. That's at 6 p.m. Cincinnati travels to Lubbock to take on Texas Tech. And Arizona is in Salt Lake City to play 10th ranked Utah. You know, Bryce, we are only 2 weeks into Big 12 play, but I think there's a sense the Big 12 could be topsy-turvy this year. That kind of seems to be the case through 2 weeks, right? Already you've got Oklahoma State 0-2. You've got either Colorado or UCF that's going to be 2-0 at the end of the day. Long time to play, but already you're starting to get a sense of what you're playing for in some cases, whether it's to go to Arlington or just to try to make a bowl, or for a couple teams, like Houston, you're just trying to get a win.
Yeah, I would be surprised if the Big 12, no one went undefeated in it this year. Mm-hmm. I mean, it could be very possible that each Big 12 team has a loss in the conference, and so I really feel like it's anyone's game still. So that's what's great about college football. It's week to week. You never know what's going to happen. A lot of upsets, a lot of exciting stuff happens, and so it's going to be interesting to see what happens coming up in November.
Well, Baylor today falls to BYU by a score of 34-28, heading into a game against Iowa State. We're going to break that down a couple segments from now. But for now, we'll take a timeout. When we come back, we will look at our highs and lows of this game, the top performers, areas Baylor needs to improve on. If you want to share your thoughts with us on the top performers or the areas that are kind of in the doghouse for you, you can comment on Baylor Athletics YouTube or on Facebook or on Twitter. You can use the hashtag BUFanForum. We'll take a break and come back to McLean Stadium alongside Bryce Hager. I'm Derek Smith, and we'll have more of the Fan Forum after this on the Baylor Sports Media Network.
Premier ER and Urgent Care has all the convenience of urgent care with all the expertise of an ER, all under one roof. At every visit, be seen by ER-trained staff with on-site lab and CT, X-ray, ultrasound, and EKG. Here, you pay for the appropriate level of care that you receive, and we are in-network with most major insurance providers. Premier ER and Urgent Care has 4 convenient locations serving Texas: San Marcos, Temple, Waco, and Woodway. To learn more, visit www.premier.care.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB Your Bank for Life. Member FDIC.
Come see why Green Eye Associates is voted best in Waco year after year. Enjoy exceptional service and care from Dr. Leanne Green alongside her dedicated optometrist and staff. Receive trustworthy insights on your eye health. Enjoy the impressive variety of contacts and eyewear, and work with the most experienced optical team in Waco. Don't miss the new state-of-the-art dry eye therapies that rejuvenate the eyes and face with safe, non-invasive treatments to restore comfort and quality of life. Green Eye Associates, official optometrist of Baylor Athletics.
Hey Baylor fans, Baylor's soccer season is currently underway. Come be a part of the action at Betty Lou
Yeah, I've already changed it.
season long and watch head coach Michelle Leonard and the Bears battle against the best in the Big 12. Score your tickets for game day right now at BaylorBears.com/tickets. We'll see you at Betty Lou. Sic 'em Bears.
Oh, the coffee music?
Yeah,
okay, I'll have to find it. I deleted it.
Don't worry.
Okay. I've got it in there. I'll find it.
On the Baylor Sports Media Network.
Bryce Hager, Derek Smith back with you at McLean Stadium. Aaron Sexton, our producer at our flagship station, ESPN Central Texas. Appreciate y'all being with us after a tough one today for the Bears. They fall 34-28. 22nd ranked BYU remains undefeated on the year. Bryce, BYU, a team picked to finish 13th in the Big 12 in the preseason polls, and yet here they are, 5-0, undefeated. It just goes to show you, we were talking off the air earlier, saying, teams can make a big leap forward one way or the other from one year to the next in this era. And it's true. What's interesting to me is that BYU, to some extent, ran it back a little bit, but their guys they've improved. And I think for schools that maybe don't have infinite resources, that's a model you want. It's a model that you want. Now, you got to keep them there. You got to, and I think they have guys who are there who I think have a strong missional commitment to what they're doing. Baylor does too, though. I think you just want to, you like seeing that development. You got to kind of find that mix, and BYU this year seems to have found it.
Yeah, that also goes back to every week there's an opportunity to win, and the Big 12 and just college football in general. It's week to week. Anything can happen. I mean, you got underdogs, but that doesn't really mean anything. But, yeah, BYU, if they're coming in preseason 13 and they're 5-0, 2-0 in Big 12 play, it was a good team today. I mean, there's opportunities out there for us to win, but we didn't take advantage of them. But we'll see how it goes.
Well, let's talk about the highs and lows this game. First, let's talk about the areas to put in the doghouse, because that is, that's really the story of the game today, because Baylor did a lot of good, but, not enough good early. So I want to ask you, the 21-0 deficit early. Obviously, I'm just going to go with the obvious, and I'll say those slow starts are what you got to improve on. That's the big negative today. Take us inside that a little bit. What are some things that you see that made it harder to either jump out early or come back, particularly on the defensive side?
I mean, the one thing that sticks out to me right away is I don't feel like our D-line was anywhere present at all in the pass rush, and we didn't get to the quarterback one time. Last week we had 8 sacks. This week 0 sacks, 1 QB hit. Got to do better of getting that quarterback uncomfortable. He had too much time, able to get the ball to any receiver he wanted. He didn't feel pressured. So that falls on the D-line. I think they were a no-show today, and that's a place where we got to stay consistent. Make those quarterbacks feel uncomfortable, make them see color, feel pressure to make those errant throws, get them off their spot, and make bad decisions, and they just weren't a show today.
You know, we mentioned Baylor had 6 main defensive players who didn't play today. A couple of them, you know, we knew why. You know, Garmin Randolph, we didn't know if he was going to play. That seemed to answer that. You've got Lorando Johnson go down with an early injury. You know, I think not being able to have Steve Linton out there was big. I really thought with Garmin Randolph going down, he was going to be the guy that could step up. And, you know, that jack position is so big for pressure in this defense. You know, when guys aren't available, that there's a drop-off there. And Coach Aranda, I don't know if he addressed why those guys weren't all playing today. You know, maybe we'll find out later on. But obviously not having a guy like that was big because he seems like a guy who is going to find a way these first few games. Of course, he had 3 sacks against Baylor last year when he was at Texas Tech. He just seems to be a guy who's going to find a way to get a sack or 2 here or there when he gets enough rushes at him.
Yeah, I mean, when you don't have key guys, you got to – it's part of the game. I mean, BYU is they were down guys as well. I mean, you got to adjust. You got to have the next man up mentality, and you got to make it work. Those guys are in your system. They're on your team for a reason. They're in the film room. They've been watching film, and they should be prepared just like the starter. And so I don't think there should have been a drop-off, and today there obviously was.
Well, and, you know, and that's a good point because as the game went on, they figured it out. But you just got to be ready. Got to be ready early, and unfortunately they were not today. Areas you liked, I think one that we both share would be Sawyer Robertson, his performance, not just his talent, but I think the certain moxie, gutsy, gritty, finished 27-48, 324 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. He also added a touchdown on the ground. It just seems like he's able to let plays develop. He's got a comfort level letting the play develop and then seeing what options are in front of him, maybe rather than trying to force something or bolt from a play too early. He's got the ability to let it play out, and that bodes well for this offense. There's enough weapons out there that if you can do that, you can make something happen.
Yeah, I think he's developing well. I mean, he's being smart with the ball for the most part. He's got to work a little bit on getting the ball out if there's nothing there, making sure you're not getting those intentional grounding calls. But overall, I think he's taking good care of the ball. He's reading really well. I think he's getting better each game, which is big. But those last 2 drives, I think there was opportunity there for some open receivers. And that last turnover, I think he was kind of just forcing the ball down the field when he could have went down through progressions a little bit better. But overall, I've been impressed of how he's played the last couple of games. I like how he carries himself. He doesn't let one bad play turn into another bad play. He's able to move on, forget about it, the next play's up, and it's completely new down. And so I think that's very important at the quarterback position, and he's doing a good job at that.
Let's go back to an area that the team needs to improve on now. That's an area we like. You mentioned the defensive line. I think we need to mention the running game again a little bit. Something Baylor's got to get going. Boy, next week it's going to be Ames, Iowa. It's going to be on a Saturday night. Those are fans who, no matter how good that team is, they show up, they make some noise. Well, now their team's a top 20 team in the nation. It's going to be football weather up there most likely. In fact, the high next probably going to be the low next Saturday night is 46 degrees.
It's going to be weather to Texas.
Yeah, I would take that down here for sure. Going up there, it's a different animal going up there to Ames, Iowa. And I think if you make yourself one-dimensional, if you can't make yourself two-dimensional, that feeds right into what Iowa State does at home. They win those ugly ball games, and what you want to do is make them think, and that's going to be – it's always going to be big to have your running game going, but I think it's especially big there in Ames next week.
Well, I mean, running the ball also doesn't just open up your passing game. It also helps you with time of possession and run it and controlling the clock. If you're not able to run, you're passing every down, and you got incomplete, the clock stops. And so if we can get time of possession up a little bit more time rest the defense, get the offense on the field, tire out their defense, there's a huge battle in time of possession. That's a huge, really uncounted thing for the game. And so as long as we can control that, I think we'll be good.
Yeah, you think back last week, I think that impacted the game a little bit. The defense was tired, right? The offense had too many 3-and-outs. I mean, Sawyer Robertson made some big plays, but the defense had, the offense had some 3-and-outs. And, we were laughing in the pregame show a little bit. You were saying, back when you played, if the offense did have a 3-and-out, it would take about 20 seconds. The defense was going right back out there. Whether it's 20 seconds or 2 minutes, that truism remains, that you don't want to put your defense right back out there. So hopefully a little more than 2 yards a pop next week up there in Iowa State. I'll give a shout out to, again, Josh Cameron and Hal Presley. They were big today. The passing game looks like it's kind of finding its sea legs, and I hope they could keep that going in Ames. The running game would be big on that. You've played in Ames, Bryce. We'll talk about what it's like up there when we return for our final segment. We'll close things out on the Fan Forum when we return after this from McLean Stadium here on the Baylor Sports Media Network.
Jan from Toyota here. At Toyota's national sales event, there's still time to squeeze more fun out of summer with an exciting new Camry, RAV4, Corolla, and more. So go on, surprise yourself with how much you can squeeze into a Tacoma for a camping trip.
Mini fridge, hair dryer, and is that a waffle iron?
Yep. Wait, do bears like waffles?
Squeeze your extended family into a Highlander for a family reunion.
All right, everybody in. Tammy, Teddy, Toady, Tommy, Toby, Terry. Wait, where's Rex?
Or stop for some fresh squeezed lemonade in a Prius.
Wow, that looks delicious. How much do I owe ya?
$15. I also accept crypto.
Okay, now that's a squeeze.
During Toyota's national sales event, qualified buyers can get 3.99% APR financing for 72 months on a rugged new 2024 Tundra. Toyota, let's go places. Dealer inventory may vary. See your participating Toyota dealer for details. Offer ends September 3rd and is available in select states only.
Life moves fast. Your internet should move even faster. Connect, game, study, and do it all with Astound's hypersonic.
All right, all we got left after this is the close.
Call 1-800-4ASTOUND or go to astound.com to get.
It takes it out of you, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's tough to lose these
$100
games.
Yeah, these last 2 weeks have been brutal.
Well, free.
Got to get it done next week.
Yep.
Internet and better mobile is a big deal. Go to astound.com today. Restriction.
The statistics are starting to get really grim. That's 7 straight conference losses, 8 straight conference losses at home, 9 straight losses to P4 teams.
For Ram 2500 Tradesman Crew Cab with $10,000 off MSRP. A great selection with over 350 new to choose from. But hurry, these deals won't last long. Hurry into Allen Samuels in Waco today. First responders get an extra $500 off.
Come by. Let's be friends.
You're listening to Baylor Football on the Baylor Sports Media Network.
Back here for the final segment of the show today. Baylor drops a tough one to BYU, 22nd ranked team in the nation, and it's the Cougars with the 34-28 win. The Bears fall behind 21-0 early, and at 28-7, they end up outscoring BYU 21-6 the rest of the way, but that deficit proved to be too big. And so now the Bears are trying to stop a 2-game losing streak in Big 12 play, and trying to bounce back from what has been a tough stretch of Big 12 games. Baylor's last Big 12 win was against Cincinnati last year in October up in Cincinnati against the Bearcats. They're going to try to snap that string as we go on. Certainly a tough challenge, though, against Iowa State. This is an Iowa State team that has started the year with a 3-0 record. Certainly you would expect them to take care of business down in Houston against the Cougars, who have struggled, although they got to actually do it. But very likely Baylor will be playing a top 20 team next week in the Iowa State Cyclones. And and Bryce, you've played up there. It's always been a different animal in the Big 12. I feel like playing in Ames, particularly on a cool night. What's that environment like? What's it kind of take to go in there and withstand that?
I mean, yeah, those away games. I mean, especially coming in after a loss, you're hungry. You got to capitalize on still on these these away games. But Yeah, when I was playing, I think 2012 we lost, and then 2014 we beat them. So those are sneaky games. Like, even if you feel like you're a favorite team, you guys are a better team, but like, you got to show up prepared. You got to show up like they're going to give you their best. And so I wouldn't take anything for granted. They're a good team. We need to prepare. This is going to be another good learning week. I hope they coach and really harp on, let's put a full game together and let's start fast, and let's really try to fire on all three phases. There's been good stuff on special teams. There's been good stuff on defense and good stuff on offense. Let's put it together. Let's come out and play as a team. Let's play complementary football. If they do that, I think they walk into Ames with a win.
That would be big. It's going to be nationally televised, a 6:30 kickoff next week against the Cyclones, and that's going to be a big opportunity for the Bears. Certainly a tough challenge. You know, the defense, if they can, and we'll see what the personnel is like next week. If the personnel is like it was today, I think we saw them close the game a whole lot stronger. They got to start it that way next week. And you look, Baylor is now at 2-3 with 7 games left. We'll be at the midway point next week. I think obviously goal number 1 is to get to 6. We're looking at the schedule. There's winnable games, but simple thing to say, you got to win the winnable games. You got to win them. Yeah, you got to win them and not just come close, which is what Baylor has been doing late. And if you could get a win, I don't think most people, when you're looking at the schedule, and you're like, all right, that's a win, that's a loss. I don't know that a lot of Baylor fans necessarily pick this game as a win next week, right? Even diehard Baylor fans are kind of like, ooh, that's going to be a tough one. Well, you can change the math in your favor a little bit if you steal one of these. If you pick up the upset, that's what you've got the opportunity. And that will be next Saturday, 6:30 in Ames, nationally televised on FS1, or Fox rather. And it's a Fox game. And, of course, we'll have the broadcast here on the Baylor Sports Media Network. The Baylor Alumni Tailgate Show starting at 4:30. And then Bryce and I will be back following the game on the Fan Forum. Well, that's all for now. Wrapping things up here from McLean Stadium. I want to say thanks to our producer, Aaron Sexton, our engineer on site, Bob Baker, for all of their work. Speaking for them and for Baylor legend Bryce Hager, I'm Derek Smith. The Bears will try to bounce back next week in Ames. We hope you will join us for the broadcast. For now, enjoy your week, and we will talk to you next Saturday.
All right, guys. Good call. We'll talk to you next week.
Baylor football.
Thanks, guys. Sick 'em Bears.
Network. Today's game coverage has been brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, championship partner of Baylor Athletics. Visit Texas Farm Bureau Insurance online to find a local agent today. Baylor Scott and White Health, the official hospital and healthcare system of Baylor Athletics. Your healthcare, your way. HEB.